So first, let's start off talking about what kits actually are. So fundamentally, a kit is a group of items required for a task tied to a production rate. So the key thing there is that there's that production rate, so we can know how many of an individual item, how much of an individual item we need in order to perform a certain task in accordance with the production rate that we define. And another thing is that it must be repeatable. There's no point in building a kit if you're only going to use it once. So the idea of the kit is that you can use it over and over on similar jobs and thereby saving yourself time because you can just quickly pull up the kit to bring in a whole bundle of things and also provide some consistency. If everybody knows how to use your kits and your kits are accurate, your estimators will be able to do the same thing no matter who is estimating just by using the kit. Other companies call kits assemblies, so you might be familiar with that term, but we call them kits. So let's go ahead and actually go look for our kits, and you can see that in Manage, I'm currently on the home screen, and I'm going to be going to the cost book right here and selecting kits from this menu to access my kit list. So you can see that there's quite a few kits on this list. And if I scroll to the bottom, you can see there's many pages. When you start out with Manage 360, there are going to be no kits, and you're going to have to build them all yourself. Everybody does things a little bit differently. Everybody has their own cost book, different plants, different materials, different suppliers, different costs and prices, which is why you need to build your own kits. They really are custom to you. So we'll go through a few examples today, talking about how to build a new one, and yeah, get an idea of some tips and tricks for making kits. And making kits really is an iterative process. It's ongoing, so if you're new to Manage 360, you can anticipate, for the next year at least, over time you're just going to be adding kits as you need them. You're kind of going to think to yourself, how could I make this process more efficient when I'm building my estimate? And the answer might be you can build a kit to accomplish something a little bit quicker. So when you're thinking about, is this eligible to be a kit, the key things are the production rate and it's a repeatable task. So let's go ahead and build a new one. And we're going to do that right now by clicking on the New Kit button. And so when we start off with a new kit, it's going to open up the Details tab. So we're going to want to give it a name. And we'll start out with mulching, just because that's such an easy example. It's really straightforward and a good introduction to building a kit. So I give my kit a name, and just a simple description of what it's actually going to be used for. This name can be only internal, or it can also be forward-facing or client-facing, so you can show that kit name on the proposal, or just keep it to yourself. That depends on what you have as your proposal settings. The next thing here is the description, and again, that can be client-facing or just personal. The description can be used to kind of brighten up your proposals, give them a little bit more context so the customer knows what they're paying for. They can really, add a bit of padding to your work area description, kit name, and then the kit description comes in there. Or it can just be a set of instructions for your crew. So it's really up to you, but let's just say mulching for up to 1,000 square feet, right? So just something simple. It can really be whatever you want in here. And again, depending on what its purpose is going to be. The next set of notes we have here are the private notes. So these are just for you, and they're really going to be used while you're building the estimate. So this is where I'd put usage notes, maybe something about who built it, when it was built, maybe the last time it was edited. So if you want to keep track of those kind of things and how the kit has evolved over time, you can put those notes in here. Or if this is a note for the estimator, I might just put that over here. That way, when the estimator is actually going to be adding this kit, to an estimate, they're going to see that note and say, oh, okay, well, this kit is only good up to 1,000 square feet. If I need to mulch a humongous property, then I'm going to need to select another kit. And we can reflect that in the name right there as well. So it's really easy to just pick the correct one right away. The next thing we see over here are the settings. And the division that the kit is placed in is very important. So right now we're building mulching for landscaping. So if we're doing a landscape construction job, we would be using this kit in that division and only on estimates within that division. So it's very important to note that kits are division specific. All the pricing for all the items that are in the kit come from the division. So if I wanted to use mulching in landscaping and in maintenance, I would need two kits. I would need a mulching landscaping and mulching maintenance. And there's an easy way to duplicate or clone your kits. So I'm going to show you that in a little bit. But when you're starting out with a new kit, very important that you pick the correct division, the one that you want to actually use that kit in. The next thing to pick is the unit type. So unit type is also important. It doesn't actually affect how the kit behaves. It is really just a tag for you to see the units that this kit is being used in. So if each would be per instance of the kit. But for mulching, I said it's going to be square feet, so let's go ahead and find that on our list, square feet. So this is really for you, so it makes sense when you see that, okay, I'm adding 50 square feet of this kit to an estimate. And then we have category. So kit categories can be defined within your settings, and you actually want to do this before you make any kits. At first, you're only going to have the default category, so this list will be empty and it's just going to say default if you're new to Manage 360 and have never made any kits. But it makes sense to break them up a little bit. If I put all my mulching kits within a mulching category, I can then just filter down to that category and only see my mulching kits. So when you have a lot of kits, organizing them by category can be really helpful. And to make a new kit category, you just come here, settings, kit categories, hit the new kit category button, give it a name, maybe a description. One of them can be your default, and that's really how you set it up. Once it's created, it can be used, and it appears on this list here. So I'm going to select my mulching kit category. Final thing on this details tab for the kit is that it is active. So this is actually how you will retire your old kits. Once the kit has been used, and by that I mean it's been put on some estimates, there will be records in Manage 360 that depend on that kit existing. So if we've used this kit before, we can't just come and delete it. Instead of deleting it, we will mark it as inactive, right? So I hit that checkbox, and it's still there, it's still functional, it's still the same thing it was before, but it's hidden from our list of active kits. So we don't see old stuff, we just see the stuff that is relevant to us. And if I want to go searching for my old inactive kits, I would come to the kits menu, I would say show inactive items, and apply that filter. And if I have any old stuff, it's going to appear here on this list. So once we have all of that set up, I'm going to go to the Items tab, and then this is where you can actually build the kit. So before I do that, I'm going to save it, just because it's always a good idea to save whenever possible. And then I'm going to go to the Items tab. So the first thing you're going to define is a quantity per. So that means this is effectively the production rate or base quantity of this kit. We want to pick a quantity here that makes sense. So for my mulching kit, I would want to pick a number that's easy to work with. So I can say, how much mulch do I need per 500 square feet? of a mulching activity. How much mulch do I need to accomplish this? I could leave it as per 1 square foot. It doesn't matter really if you do 1 square foot or 500 square feet. The kit will behave the same. But it's hard to think in numbers that small. You know, you might say, how much mulch do I need per square foot? And that could be a very small number, like 0.01 cubic yards per square foot. Kind of hard to think in terms that small, so we bump it up to something that we're more used to dealing with. So 500 square feet makes sense because I can easily think about how much mulch I need for that. So I'm going to add items, and this is kind of like building an estimate in that we add items to it, but we're thinking about this quantity here once again, and the ratio of how much of an item do I need to accomplish this amount of the kit. So I'm going to add items, and I am going to go to my materials. So what do we need for a mulching kit? We need mulch. And we don't need just one kind of mulch. When we actually go and do it, we're only going to use one kind, but on a kit, you want to give yourself the option to use one of many different kinds of mulch. So when I search my materials list for mulch, I have 5 different items here, and I can easily add them all to the kit and identify that I'm only going to use one of them when I actually go and do something for mulching. So to do that, we mark them as lead items, and I'm going to click on my classic cedar mulch, and it's going to ask me how much of this do we need to do 500 square feet of mulching. So we need 5 cubic yards per 500 square feet, and that comes out to be 0.01 cubic yards per square foot. So that division, that 500, that 5 divided by 500 is giving us that number, and that is what is used on the estimate to determine how much mulch I'm going to be using for the activity. And that applies to everything. So 5 cubic yards for the whole thing, 0.01 per square foot. And then I can also define a round 2. So round 2 always rounds up. So if I end up with 0.01 cubic yards, let's just say I add 1 square foot of mulching to an estimate, it gives me 0.01. I can say always round to the nearest cubic yard, the next highest cubic yard. So if I have 0.01 cubic yards that is brought in through the calculation, it's going to bump that up to a full cubic yard. Same deal if I ended up with adding enough of the kit that I was going to have 2.3 cubic yards of mulch. It's always rounding up to the nearest full number, so it would round up to 3 cubic yards. And so I can choose a smaller number. I can say always round up to the nearest, half a cubic yard or a quarter of a cubic yard. And if you're doing something like bags of mulch instead of cubic yards of mulch, then maybe it would be always round up to the nearest full bag, because maybe your supplier doesn't let you order half a bag and you want to give yourself a little bit of a fudge factor, let yourself order a little bit more than the kit is telling you, and that way you've got any extras covered. So the rounding can be very helpful. Now fixed quantity, we'll check that out in a moment, but lead item, this is what we were talking about earlier. I need lots of different types of mulch, so my mulch is going to be one of my lead items, and we'll see how that is going to work out in a moment. So I'm going to add the rest of these mulches. I need my black bark mulch, 5 cubic yards, round to the nearest quarter. It's a lead item. And let's do it again. Red pine, 5.25, lead item. Playground mulch, 5.25, lead item. And shredded pine, 5.25, lead item. So I have all my mulches, and I will add them to my kit. And now they're all here. So you can see that there is a checkbox here in this column that's called lead item. That's because we added these as lead items. So If I uncheck one of these, you can see that it's no longer has a gray background and it moves down to the bottom. The lead items are always on top. And when we actually use this kit on an estimate, it's going to ask us to pick the lead item that we want to use. Because once again, you're not going to put 5 different types of mulch down in a single area. You're just going to use one. And that's why the lead item is pick only one. So let's mark this as a lead item again. And now I'm going to add the next thing we need on here, which would be labor. You can't, the mulch doesn't put itself down, so we're going to need some labor, and I'm going to select landscape labor. Does that make sense? So for 500 square feet, let's say 2.35 hours. Always round up to the nearest, let's say, quarter hour as well. That way we don't end up with any small decimals of hours. We're always going to get something that's a multiple of 0.25. And that just, can be very nice to present your estimate that way. So I'm going to add some labor. And I said I'd give you a fixed quantity example. So let's pull up a truck. How about the landscape truck? So my crew's bringing along the truck with them, fixed quantity, because it doesn't matter how much mulch I'm laying down. I'm only bringing one truck. And I want to charge for, let's say, half a day or even a full day of the truck. So by marking it a fixed quantity, the amount of days that I'm charging for of the truck does not change based upon the amount of the kit that I add. So whether it's 500 or 5,000 square feet that I add, it's still going to say 1 day of the truck. And if I want to change that quantity, I change it manually. So that's what fixed quantity does. So you can see here that it is now added. And a couple things I can do here. I can drag stuff around if I want to change the order that it's going to be in on the estimate. Right? I can inline edit any of these items here. So I can change, my cubic yards here. Then maybe I've got a different type of mulch that I need more of for some reason. I can change the round to 2. And we can see down at the bottom, this is how it's going to behave with the lead items. This little drop-down list, when I click on it, it pulls up all of the lead items that I have selected here, and it shows me what the kit pricing is going to look like with different types of mulch. So my black bark mulch is 33 cents per unit. So if I switch it to something else, so my red pine mulch is more expensive, the cost and the price per square foot goes up. So that's per square foot per 500 square feet. So you can see how, the item you pick is going to dictate what the final price and cost of the kit is. And so that's basically how it's going to work when we actually add it to an estimate later. So once again, a good idea to save once you're done with the kit. And let's go ahead and look at some more examples. Now that we've built one and we know what to do here, we can just take a look at some examples and see how those are built and see if there's any cool tricks we can learn. Before we do that though, I'll show you the actions menu here and talk about the clone this kit feature. So that's what we talked about on the details tab here. If I wanted to have maintenance mulching as well as landscaping, I would say actions, clone this kit, and it's going to immediately, it's going to ask if you want to do it, and then make an exact duplicate of this kit. So I would just name it mulching maintenance, right? And if I need to change anything, I can, or I can just leave it the same, save it. Actually, first make sure the division is set properly. Then I can save it, and then I'll have 2 copies, one for maintenance, one for landscape. So let's cancel out of that. Go back to the kit list here. So a few things about navigating the list. I talked about how you can show inactive items, but We can also do division filters, kind of reflect what or expand upon what we just talked about, where here's my landscaping kits, got a lot of them. Let's check out the maintenance kits. I've just got the one mow, trim, blow. Maybe I want to look by kit category, so I can look at all of my categories here. So if I want to see my paving kits, for example, I'd apply the filter and then see, oh, okay, here's my paving kits. So let's first, before we go into paving kit, because those are a bit more advanced, let's go to our mow and trim kit. There we go. Mow, trim, blow. So if we look at this kit, we immediately notice a couple differences. This one is not based off of square footage, but per 1,000 square feet. So I'll explain why we're doing that in a moment. And then also it has this services tab. So this tab only appears, number one, if you have the maintenance module, and number two, if this kit has been added to one or more services. So since this has only been added to a single service, that's the only one we see here, our mowing service. But if this mow, trim, blow kit was a member of multiple services, we would see them all down below, and we could use this refresh kits button to actually, if we make any changes to the kit, push those changes to any services that the kit might be on. The service won't change automatically. The assumption is that the service is set up the way you want, and you don't want it to be the exact same as whatever you have in here. And if you need to, you can come here and push those changes to the kits, because you might tweak stuff a little bit once you build the kit, as you can see all that later. This is also just for reference if you want to know where this kit is being used in maintenance. So I go back to items here, and for mow, trim, blow, usually very, very simple. We have two items. We have the actual labor to mow, trim, and blow. So this is a labor item. And then this one right here is our mowing equipment package. So it has on it 1 hour of equipment. So a couple things that you can see is that we don't separate mowing, trimming, and blowing labor because it might be a little bit pedantic to do that. If we're going down to such minute detail, especially for maintenance, kind of just clutters things up. So in situations where you can condense, it makes a lot of sense to. Same deal with the equipment here. This mowing equipment package would include the mower, the trimmer, the blower. It could even include the truck if you wanted to have that in there. You don't need to have everything as a separate item all the time, unless you want to explicitly track that item as its own thing. Cost for that item as its own thing as well. Where you can build a package that would really just be the, add all the items together, figure out their cost per hour, and then there you go. But yeah, that's a big space and time saver right there. So here we've said it takes us 1 hour to mow 10,000 square feet, right? Not 10 square feet. This is 1,000 square feet right here. So why did we do that? Well, in situations like this, where it takes a relatively small amount of time to do a large amount of units, you run into very, very small decimal places. So let's see what would happen here if this was per square foot instead. So I'm going to go in here, I'm going to change my units to square feet, and instead of 1 hour for 10 square feet, it's 1 hour for 10,000 square feet. Right? So not 1,000 hours, but 1 hour, 1 hour. So you can see that we can see the quantity per right here, 0.0001 hours per square foot. It's a very small amount. So that isn't too small for Manage to deal with, but the unit cost and the unit price, you can see, have gone down to 0. Before there were numbers there, and we'll see them return once we fix everything. But because we're doing 1 hour divided by 10,000 square feet, the cost and the price per square foot is so small that it's not even registering, right? It would be fractions of pennies here that we're talking about. So to rectify this, we use larger, easier to work with quantities. So I'll pull up my 1,000 square feet again, and we only need 10 of those, and it's 1 hour for each of these items. And you can see that, okay, well, here's the cost per 1,000 square feet and the price per 1,000 square feet. That's what's going on there. Yeah. Now, a few other things related to mowing. This would obviously be for the average mow. Um, you might have properties that are very easy to mow. You might have properties that are very difficult to mow because of incline or obstacles. And you can reflect that pretty much the same way as we talked about with our mulching kit. You can reflect that through usage notes. You could have a mow trim blow easy versus difficult kit. Or you can just adjust those quantities on the fly because when you're building the estimate, you might have in your head that this customer needs a little bit of extra time. So yeah, that can be pre-built as its own kit or adjusted on the estimate later on. Depends how well you know the property. Depends what your preferred method of estimating is. So let's go back to our kit list. I'll show you mulching again just so you can see an example of here's some other ways to do that sort of quantity of scale thing where we have mulching for 0 to 500 square feet, 500 to 1,000, and over 1,000 square feet. So you might have in higher quantities, it might take less time on average or cost less on average, things like that. If you need different production rates, you can build different kits, right? And this one is using small amounts, but it ends up working out for us. So let's go ahead and check out some more advanced kits, right? So things like paver patio. This is a situation where we have a task that's going to require more than one kit to accomplish. It's not enough to just use the paver patio and walkway kit. We're also going to want to use, excuse me, our base prep and gravel kit. So if I open up this kit, we can see that it's based off of square footage, and it contains labor, excavated material item, and gravel items. So this would be the first kit that I would add, and then once I have that on my estimate, I would use paver patios and walkways kit. So this step 1, step 2, different amount of the first kit is needed as opposed to the second kit. And in that way, they're kind of working together to accomplish the entire task of the paver patio and walkway being built. So this is a nice detailed kit. We can see that there is a description here, and this description can be shown on our estimate for the estimator, for the crew, and also, of course, for the customer. So we can see that. And then on the items tab, a lot of lead items. That's because each one of these are different paving stones. So when we add it to an estimate, we're saying, well, which type of paving stone are we going to be laying down this time? So if we scroll all the way past our lead items, we can see that the rest of the stuff on here, our regular items, are going to be our gravel, our labor to actually perform the task, this excavated material item, some landscape fabric, limestone screenings, and polymeric sand. And then once again, we can pick a different type of paving stone. There's a lot here. You might do it a little bit differently across more kits. This works out when the ratios are all fairly similar. But yeah, you can see how the per square foot quantity will change if I pick a different lead item. So next, let's check out an estimate. So I have here a paver install estimate that I built, just as an example. So let's check out a few things to see that how the kits have actually been used on this estimate. So I can expand these work areas here. Front yard garden bed has a balsam fir kit, and so this likely was a plant added as a kit, and we're going to see that behavior in a moment. These are a little more tips and tricks for how to build an estimate. Um, but it has our mulching kit, right? It's got cedar mulch was the lead item chosen, and construction labor. So if I want to choose a different type of mulch, once the kit is actually added here, all I need to do is edit the kit, click that button, and I can say, you know what, different type of mulch. We're going to use the playground mulch and save, and now it is using our playground mulch. I can also change the quantity from here, do whatever I need to do. And then down below in our paver patio work area, we can see how the paver cutting, patio and walkway kit, and the base prep kit are all kind of working together to accomplish the same thing. Right? So it makes sense to have a self-contained work area for activities like this. So let's add a kit, and we'll see that behavior. We'll add that paver kit again, just to see how it behaves when we actually add it to a estimate. So let's say 75 square feet, that was what was on here. And which type of paving stone, right? So I'll choose my blue 80 millimeter, put it in, not my front yard garden bed, that's not where we need it. We need it to go in paver patio or another work area, right? In advanced, I can see the description of the kit. So I'm going to save 75 feet, I'm going to confirm, add to my estimate, and then it gets dropped down here. And this kit in particular, and actually all these kits on here, most of them, are showing the lead item. So these ones don't have lead items because it's just called paver cutting, but this one, the kit name is paver patios and walkways 0 to 500 square feet, but the lead item is Techa block, blue 80 millimeter. That is a setting within, let's go find it, settings, configuration, right here, show lead items on estimate beside kit name. So if you want your kits to display the lead item name after the kit name, then you would want to have that set to yes, like so. And if you just wanted it to say mulch or just base prep gravel, not the 3/4 crushed gravel, you would set that option to no, and it does not append the lead item name to the kit name. So another thing about adding kits to an estimate, these are going to be pseudo kits. These are not real kits in the sense that we went ahead and we built them ahead of time in the cost book. We can take advantage of the behavior of a kit for a regular item. And that specific behavior that I'm referring to is there are a lot of items in here all grouped under a single name. So on my proposal, I'm not seeing triple mix, construction labor, excavated material, unless of course I really want to. I'm just seeing bed prep 0 to 500 square feet. The customer doesn't need to see every single item in a kit, unless of course they do. But if they don't, we can just show them the kit name and kind of condense a bunch of items into one single line item on a proposal. So to do that, we will go add items, and I will look for an item that I can add as a kit. So one example would be a material or a plant. Those are the two types of items. So plants, a lot of people will do it this way because when you add a plant as a kit, it's going to have the plant and the labor. So instead of showing plant plus labor, two separate prices, and the price just for the plant by itself, you could show the kit, which would be the name of the plant, but the install price. The price of the kit is going to be the plant and the labor bundled together. So a lot of people will do it that way just because it's convenient. So let's say we're going to install 5 of these AB's Concolor trees into my front yard garden bed, right? Just whatever. I'm going to add this plant as a kit, so I hit that checkbox. And then on advanced for a plant, we can see the hours per plant to install. So this is going to bring on 5 times 0.25 hours because we got 5 plants. And it's being charged at the landscape crew labor rate. Our supplier is Conan Nurseries. Cost, so we could change some of that stuff, but this is where it's going. It's gonna be its own kit, and the name of the kit is gonna be the name of the plant. So we see that right here, white fir, added down here. Planting labor, white fir. The name that we're seeing there is in accordance with whatever we have set in our plant name settings. So we can see either the common or the botanical or both. But this is the plant, the labor, and we could show just this price on our proposal instead of this or both, right? So adding items as kits kind of just puts them in their own little area, separate from general conditions, separate from other cost book items. This is now treated as its own thing on the proposal. So that is what I do when I add plants and materials as kits. And if you want it to have this checkbox automatically checked off every single time, that is an option within the settings. Default create material kit, default create plant kit. If you set that to yes, it keeps that checkbox checked automatically. For my other items, like labor types, subcontractors, they don't have a add as kit button. As of yet, we're thinking about adding that. But you hit the plus button, and it's going to give you a kit name. And so you sort of create the kit before you put the item into the kit. So we could say, what is this item here? Adding some labor. I'll just call it extra kit. And I'm going to, in my front yard garden bed, in landscape labor, it's not going under cost book items, it's going under that kit that I just built, and we can plug that right into there. Otherwise it would go under the cost book items area, which is kind of just where things that aren't in kits go. If you don't happen to like the name of a particular kit, maybe you want to change the name of your white fir or your extra kit, you can edit the name, and this can be labor, right? Landscape labor. So now we have a new name for our kit. So that was our kits, tips, and tricks session. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please email sales@dynascape.com or support@dynascape.com. And tune in for our next masterclass next week. Hope you have a great day. Take care.
Thank you for watching this Manage 360 training video. View the next video to continue your training. And for any questions, visit our website at dynascape.com.